can exercise, like approval of the budget, financial regulations, etc., legislature being passed, all that is a role of Parliament. So, His Excellency's victory followed by the parliamentary victory will bring political stability, which will attract more interest in Sri Lanka's economy and economic growth and investment, as well as give more confidence to all our people also to take into new areas of investment, venture, as well as business activity, and which will benefit industry, commerce in our country. This will flow to the general public, especially to the unemployed who have been waiting for better employment opportunities. The economic growth will bring new employment. It's only faster economic growth will bring more benefit to the youth of our country. So, political stability has been established and it will be consolidated at the next parliamentary general election.
So, political stability is also key and it's a base for the economic development. So, but how realistic now the Mahinda Chintana talks about becoming a development hub when it talks about the ports and many other hubs. So, how realistic is this vision if we have political stability, that is it are these reachable goals?
Very much. Sri Lanka has attained under His Excellency the President of per capita income raised by $1,200, which is a big jump in economic activity amidst the conflict that we were involved in the last few years. This will increase further, which gives confidence to international investors that Sri Lanka's economy is on the right track and on growth. Secondly, the IMF, which has given Sri Lanka the recognition and infused assistance in our economic growth, has given Sri Lanka an important recognition in the international financial markets. Also, that gives indirect guarantee to new investment to flow. These are key important areas to measure how we have performed. Our infrastructure has been developed in the regions of our country, the new roadways, the new bridges, the new rail tracks, as well as power and energy. Important, when we came into power, we were having power cuts every day. His Excellency the President has been able to accept the challenge and put the power sector on correct track. So, these are long term investments where the country would benefit now. We would like to make it clear that the next phase of economic growth that Sri Lanka would have would be unprecedented economic growth. This is the challenge to which all of us must unitedly support His Excellency the President and his government.
And Minister, during the times of the conflict, also we know that there was a global financial crisis where the financial markets basically collapsed. And in a time of war, in a time where we were investing so much on the conflict, how did Sri Lanka face and absorb this economic shock? Is it because the world economic crisis did not have any impact on Sri Lanka, as some experts say, because the main our export markets doesn't base directly on those affected markets? Is that one reason, or was there an inbuilt mechanism in the economic policy to sustain this particular shock?
Yes, I think His Excellency the President's decision to concentrate on agriculture growth, especially on the development of our food sector fairly early, knowing the signals of the crisis, saved us from a food crisis. This is one of the key areas of in any crisis is the food crisis that comes. Now, Sri Lanka was able to manage this because Sri Lanka went into assisting the farmers for better and high growth in the paddy sector and other food crops. Secondly, facing the energy crisis. We had an energy crisis in the world. From $37 it was rising, and finally it reached nearly $150 per barrel, unprecedented in the last century. But we were able to manage through by assistance given by governments, because on trust and on friendship, long term payments, and some assistance that were brought about by the financial markets. I also must be clear that right through this time, our foreign remittances did not drop. There was tremendous trust in us that all our countrymen who are abroad were remitting, and they should remit more. This is our goal, and for which we are working. Thirdly, as you say, the financial crisis that came, it went across New York, the US, Europe, London, Paris. All the financial markets were in crisis, and collapse was taking place in economic centers of those countries. Sri Lanka was able to manage through, because we were managing our economy. As I mentioned before, our per capita income had reached high levels, our foreign remittance were okay, our confidence in defeating terrorism was international confidence that Sri Lanka built amidst various pressures, threats to Sri Lanka. We are the only country that defeated terrorism after the UN's call for defeat of terrorism. That also gave more strength for us in terms of borrowing, in terms of trade agreements, that His Excellency the President was able as Finance Minister to sail through this crisis.
Right, Minister. So now after President came into power last term and you took up the portfolios, what were the different portfolios you took up, and also what are your main milestones and achievements in the context of Sri Lanka coming from point A to point B in the past couple of years?
I mentioned earlier the growth centers that have been declared, the Dambulla Growth Center, Hambantota Growth Center, Trincomalee plan for development, and Mankulam plan also have been initiated by our ministry, and many other smaller development plans which has helped growth. I don't want to go into a whole list of city centers have been introduced by the Urban Development Authority under our direction by our planners, and work has begun in many of these city centers. Also, planning have been introduced to the local authorities. We want them to have a planned administration than haphazard growth. We have also introduced the Arunodaya fund for the poor, without a penny being borrowed from the government, by a regulation which helps planning for a better city as well as helping the poor in development. As I mentioned before, which have been recognized by international agencies as a very good initiative and commended by them. We have also completed 3,500 community water and sanitation projects in the country. This is another approach under Mahinda Chintana, where rural water schemes have been built with the community participation, with our ministry's assistance and guidance, where they manage their own community water, which includes sanitation. This is another crisis area in our country which has to be addressed, and we have addressed, and we are on a better track today in order to bring better sanitation to the rural poor as well as to urban sector. We also have, as ministry, I must say, people must see their Independence Square of the country. We had an Independence Square building, surroundings have been encroached without any plan. I have been able to restore the glory of our Independence Square, and the program is now moving fast. It could be visible if anyone goes to Independence